And it's kind of interesting because if you were here last week, you remember I actually touched on this topic in reference to the Garden of Eden, you know, where Adam and Eve had their little apple strudel and heard God coming, and they ran off to hide, as if it was possible at all to ever hide from Spirit, as if anything that we would ever do would be so terrible that we would need to hide from Spirit, or that God would ever reject us. Now, in Christianity, there is a funny little verse that talks about a unforgivable sin. It's most of the time looked over because they don't tell you what the unforgivable sin is. So it can lead to lots of stress and strain. I had a aunt, my mother's youngest sister, and she was the nicest of all of them. And this particularly worried her, this idea of an unforgivable sin. And she worried that she had maybe committed that sin. And I was always kind of struck because, like I said, she was really a very, very nice lady. She had a potato salad recipe that was a little questionable, but I never understood what she could have possibly imagined that she had done that would cause Spirit to reject her. But many of us go through life worried that we're not good enough to receive the blessings of life. And that's a shame, because it means that we don't live up to our full potential, and it results in a lot of meanness and judgment. Spirit would never deny us anything that will bring us greater life. And that's all that you have to ask. Anytime you want something in your life, anytime you desire something in your life, you only have to ask two questions. Would this thing bring me greater life? And would it do no harm to anyone? Would it be good for everyone for me to have it? And if you can answer yes to those two things, then whatever you're desiring, God is also desiring. Jesus said, I have come that you might have a more abundant life, more joy and more love and more happiness. Our goal then needs to be to open up as many avenues for that intelligence that created the entire universe to create even more wonderfulness by means of me and you. That's what you're here to doing. You're allowing Spirit to flow through you to create even more wonderfulness by means of you. To allow God to work through us, bringing goodness. But it's easy to stop that goodness with guilt and shame. And those two emotions are such a low vibration that when we're in guilt and shame, that it's difficult to resonate with the vibration that's of love and compassion, of creativity. But this is totally on us. Totally on us. It has nothing to do with Spirit. Spirit is always available, always giving, always enamored more of our possibilities than it is in judgment of our mistakes. In fact, it's not concerned with our mistakes at all, because like any good parent, it has set up a system of cause and effect so that we can learn from our mistakes. We are not punished for our sins, we're punished by our sins. And we punish ourselves for our sins long after life moves on to other interesting things. Now, some of the mainstream religions would have you to believe that the core of us is negativity. That certainly is what I was raised to believe, that the very core of me was negative, ugly. They said it was like dirty rags. It was what was the bottom of me. And I even heard one TV minister, one of the famous ones, he was warning against meditation. And he said, don't you dare meditate. Don't quiet your mind, because there's nothing good that can come from your inner recesses. Nothing good. Now, we totally reject that notion altogether. We believe that at the bottom of us is perfect divine intelligence. Now, we can cover it up. We can make wrong conclusions. We can even delve into delusion. But we can never extinguish it. The core of you is divine love. The core of you is divine creativity. And what we have to do is release that, to let that flow as easily and as joyfully and effortlessly as possible. Do that by getting rid of our judgments and our shame and guilt. We want to release as much of the goodness as we can in as many areas of our life, to become a beacon of hope and encouragement for ourselves and those around us. And we need it now more than ever. Dolph mentioned Raymond Charles Barker. Here's a great quote from him. He said, if you were good enough for the creative power to create you, you ought to be good enough for yourself. You were a perfect idea in the mind of God at the moment of your creation, and you still are. Spirit has never been disappointed in you. The Spirit is still enthralled with the idea of you, of the great good that you can do, of the blessings and the healing and the joy and the love and the laughter you can bring to the physical plane. And once you feel good enough to receive the blessings of life, nothing can stop you or hinder you. And you'll be open and amazed to all the great good that you can bring into your life. If you stay convinced that you don't deserve it, then it's almost impossible to bring good into your life. And even when it comes into your life, you'll convince yourself you don't deserve it, that it's a fluke, that once they discover who you really are, they'll take it from you. So we've got to step up. We've got to know we're doing the best we can, and when we have better, we'll do better. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven within. So this has to mean that within us is that ultimate goodness. But we often discount the good that we do, and we overemphasize the negative, our mistakes. We're human after all. We're going to make mistakes. You know, I'm convinced if God had a do-over, I don't know if he would create sand gnats. You know, it's like, I'm not really sure that they could have been a little improvement on that. So you're human. You're going to make mistakes. But don't focus on them. Don't become attached to them. Don't dwell on them. It's so amazing to me. We take our mistakes and we attach them to ourselves like Velcro. But the good we do, we just let slide off of us. We forget and we ignore. This past week, I was at the interfaith service, or interfaith planning service that we do. And there's a wonderful guy there, and he's a little bit younger than I am, and I could tell that his energy was a little low. And so afterwards, I went and was talking to him, and I was asking him how he's doing. And he says, well, I'm really pretty exhausted. He said, my mom's in the hospital. She's had a stroke, and I'm going up and spending nights with her. And he said, the first night I spent with her, I held her. She held my hand for the entire night. And I told him, I grabbed him by the shoulders, and I was like, thank you. You know, you're doing something really wonderful. This is really good that you're up there with your mom and that you're staying through the night with her. How scary a hospital is at night, and then you're sick on top of it. And he looked at me and he said, but anybody would do that. Anybody would do that. No, they won't. No, they don't. Not everybody does. But he's stepping up. And I have to think by his stepping up. Great good is not just coming for his mom, not just for him. It blessed me to hear the story. I think it's got to bless the nurses that are seeing it, blessing the doctors, the whole family. You don't know how far a vibration of love and compassion can send out into the world. You don't know. Never discount the power of goodness and kindness that you can release by a simple smile, by holding someone's hand, by sending somebody a note. We can do amazing things when we step up to our power, when we raise our vibration by knowing that we're doing good. And when we know we're doing good, more resources will be given to us so we can do even more great good. We were crafted by an intelligence that gave itself completely to us without reservation and supports our best ideas. So we want to raise our vibration so it can match the creativity that created the universe. And when we do, we'll step into a vortex of creation and amazing things can happen. But we want to open ourselves up to our intuitive thinking, which is the gateway to the wisdom of the universe. Reverend Elizabeth, she gave me a book last week that I've been going through, and it's really quite amazing. It was published in 1930 by a guy, Robert Collier. And he went on to write several more New Thought books, but in 1930. And he stressed the importance of the intuitive mind. He says, we're all intuitive, particularly for ourselves. You are your best resource for you. You have more understanding of your body, of how your life functions, of what you need to do. You are your best resource. You want to learn to depend and have faith and trust in that. And it doesn't mean you need to go around and start telling everybody else how to live their lives. Or it doesn't mean that you're going to start seeing dead people. So don't worry about that. But be open and receptive to Spirit providing you with the answers of how you can move through life in an easy and joyful and loving and healthy and successful way. And you know better than anyone else what's right for you. So seek your own counsel. Collier wrote, not I, the I that I am, that knows these things, but God knows them in you. Spirit knows within you. We are a channel of divine wisdom. Beyond and above our reasoning mind is our intuitive mind. This is a channel to the oversoul of the universe. It's a connecting link between us and Spirit. It is a part of God. It shares all its attributes, its power, its wisdom, and riches. And at need, we can draw upon all of these. When you draw upon it, when you open yourself up to a more intuitive self, you start to see a larger pattern in your life. There is a pattern of our lives. And when we are receptive to it, we can start seeing this. And we can start seeing that it's greater than just ourselves. This happens often in my writings as I'm writing the talk. I will add something in, or I'll start working on a talk, and some parts of it don't make sense. And then at the very last, sometimes Sunday morning, another piece of information will come, and I'll realize there was a larger picture there all along, a larger pattern. I didn't see it as I was working on it, but suddenly it fell into place. I'll see a whole pattern. It's almost like I was drawing a missing piece to put it all together. I'll give you an example. A week before last, I had to do a really difficult memorial service. It was very tragic. A young woman had suffered a tragic transition. And I really wanted to make sure that I did as good a job as possible for this family. They don't attend here at the center. And so I spent a lot of time working on this talk, and I called in a lot of my ministerial friends to help me craft it so that it would be a good and meaningful service. One part of the talk was I talked about this young lady's identification with dragonflies. Evidently, she had a real affinity to dragonflies. And so I talked a little bit about dragonflies, about their symbolism and spiritual representation. But as I read over the talk, it didn't really make sense to me. It didn't fit into the flow of the talk. And so I tried several times to alter it, but I just couldn't get it to work. It always felt like I had just kind of shoehorned it into the middle of the talk. And I almost took it out. In fact, I had highlighted it. I was ready to delete it. I got a telephone call, and I went off and did something else, and I didn't delete it. I got too busy. So the morning of the service, I go on the beach, and they had put up this huge frame, and there on the frame was this huge stained glass of a dragonfly. And I suddenly realized there was an energy of life that needed that dragonfly to be represented. There was an energy wanting me to talk about that dragonfly. And once I got out of my way, I had left it included. So there's a pattern for life. There's an energy for life. If we will be open to it and receptive to it, it can help us go along our way. There's a line in an old gospel song, and it's called, "In the stillness of the midnight, sacred secrets will unfold." When Jesus was asked about his miracle, he said, I'm not doing the work, it's the Father within. I don't have to do all the work. I can get out of my way, and seeing miracles can occur. Collier, he went on, he said that it's the same way every cell in your body can draw upon the vitality of the whole body, creating the need and by using what it has. So one cell can draw the whole vitality of the whole body by creating a need and using what it has. I say something very similar. It's put your intent out there. Make a decision what it is that you want to experience in life, and do it for several things, not just one thing. Decide what kind of health you want to have, what kind of love, what kind of prosperity you want to have, and then do what's right in front of you to do. There's an easy task you can do that's right in front of you. Move on that task, do what's in front of you, use the resources you have available to you, and more will be given. And then use those resources and more will come. Do keep an idea of what you want to experience in your life and do what's right in front of you, and you can draw upon the vitality of the entire creation. And he said that when we have a problem or we want a new or better idea, he said the thing to do is to fill our minds with the information we need about the desired manifestation, and then release it to God. Just say, all right, Spirit, here's the information. You bring me the idea. You bring me the new person I need to meet, the new situation, the new class, the new missing piece of information. Now, here was an interesting idea, he said, that I think is very important. He said, do this, he said, but don't just focus on what it is you want to accomplish. Don't just focus on getting the car or having the relationship or having the healing. All those things are good, but he said the big thing that you want to focus on is the relationship or connection with Spirit. That's what you want to focus on. When you focus on that and release the earthly desires, then it's easier for the manifestation to take place. Kennedy, my teacher, he said, the more you get, the less you'll want. And what he meant by that is what do we really want? What really is going to empower us, what we really desire in life, is that connection with Spirit. Jesus said, if you drink from the water of the well, you'll thirst no more. That's what he was talking about. When you have that connection with Spirit, when you know you're important, when you know you're valuable, when you know you're vital, when you know you're in this world to do great good, that you're helping people, you're supporting other people, you've become a beacon of hope and light and inspiration for yourself and those around you. But to do that, you can't hide yourself from anyone. You got to put yourself out there, your whole self, your complete self. You can't turn away from any aspect of yourself. You got to know yourself is good and release all the judgments about yourself. To see yourself with new eyes, healthy and happy, capable of choosing your experiences, knowing that I am good enough for God and I am good enough for me, with love and confidence to allow myself to be me, to be fully me, because you are the wonder of creation. You've been mightily made to do great good in your life, to become a source, a beacon of love. You are doing God's work in the physical. So you can go tell anybody who blocks your way or is knocking you to move on. You tell them, I'm on a mission from God to do great good, and I'm not putting up with anybody telling me anything less. I'm here to be a miracle that Spirit created me to be, that has called me to be, and knows me to be. And I will not be turned back. I will not be stopped. I'm moving on to Canaan. So mountain, move, because I'm headed on my way. This is the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.